Okay, we're up to Chaf Amid Beis. We're up to Chaf Amid Beis, and the Mishnah mentioned the 7 Tanoim, 7 conditions that Chazal made, and one of them was that the Kohen Gadol, if he dies, that they would bring the mincha. The Kohen Gadol brought a personal minchas chavitin every day. We saw yesterday that the day he was anointed, he brought one. He actually brought 2, and according to Babli, he brought 3. Very fascinating. According that the day you have the anointed, that every kohen brings it. And then the kohen gadol brings it. The day of his anointment. That's called the minchas chinuch, by the way. That's where the term comes from. Chinuch, that it's to begin something. That's the mincha of chinuch, of beginning your job as the kohen. And then you have the minchas that he brought every single day. If he dies, so the Mishnah said that they made a tikkun that it should be brought from the tzibur. Now mashma, then it's that the tikkun was that it's brought from the tzibur, mashma, that's not the din. So that's what we're holding. Because you made a takana means you had to be metaking. Actually, the lashon takana means to fix. They had to fix something, they had a problem. So we're up to the bottom exactly of Chaf Amid Beis, Kohen Gadol Shemes. So Rabbi Ba, that we know is that's Rav Abba, because in Yerushalmi they don't have an aleph, right? So Rav Ba is Rav Abba, Bar Mamel. Boy, Michlofa Shitase the Reb Shimon. You have a change in the sheet of Shimon. Taman over here, Omar Mishal Yarshim. Over here is that if the Kohen died, the Yarshim would bring it. The Kohen was the Tzibur. Rabbi Yehuda said Mishal Yarshim. So here we said he has Reb Shimon saying Yarshim. But Hacha over there he says Mishal Tzibur. So what is it? Is it Mishal Yarshim or Tzibur? So Rab Chia says Rab Chia Bar Rabbi. Below Yoras who Maksha. What a good kasha. That's a very good kasha. So that's Rabbi Yaakov Baracha, and he's going to answer the kasha. Why one place does he say Shal Tzibur, one place says Shal Yarshim? Avo b'shem Rabbi Yochanan. The Torah who shetieh ba minat tzibur. Minat Torah, if the kohen dies, it should be brought from the tzibur. And the kohen, if he dies, it should be brought from the tzibur. That's the deraisa that they did. However, they saw that they had is kahanim gedolim. What happened? Right? What happened? Ama mechlfashi we also Rabbi Yochanan the Torah kiven the chazi. Since they saw they were emptying out the lishka, and so wonderful pshat, right? In the second bias, guys, the kahanim gedolim were dying like flies. They were dying all the time. They were dying. There was like a crazy amount because again they were not good guys. They were political positions. They'd go in. They would have to schlep them out. So they were constantly being replaced, and it was placing an onus on the tzibur. So therefore, then they switched around. They said it should be from Yarshim. However, Kim and the Chazi, the Pashri boy, since they saw the Yarshim with Pasheya and bringing it, they don't, once they died, they didn't want the physical onus on them, the monetary onus on them. So they made a takana that it should come from the Trumas Halishka. So one, which says Shal Tzibur, that's the deraisa diktin, or the takana afterwards, and Shal Yarshim is when they try to go ahead and establish it should be from the Yarshim to go ahead and take care of the monetary problem that was there. Rabbi Yossi Amar Rabbi Yochanan Bohu Mahu Shlema. Now Rabbi Yehuda said that they bring it Shlema. They bring a Shalem. In other words, you don't bring a Mechs, you bring a Shalem. So Mahu, he dies. That's the Kohen dies. Mahu Shlema b'Shachris Shlema ben Abayim. You bring a whole. You bring a whole ephah. You don't divide it, right? So you bring a whole ephah in the morning and a whole ephah in the afternoon. You bring a whole ephah in the morning and a whole ephah in the afternoon. Or you bring one ephah in the morning. In other words, minadin you bring an ephah and chetzia babayka and chetzia ben abayim, half an ephah and half an ephah. Rabbi Yehuda said no, you bring a total one. So the question is, do you bring 2 in total, or do you bring 1 total and you bring it 1 time? That's the shaila. Now, katay poshele, that's the Yerushalmi equivalent of imtim saloima. If you're going to say you bring 2 whole ones, right? Then because of minchas tamid, because it says minchas tamid, so therefore, guys, since it says minchas tamid, it should be, like the carbon tamid. So you're going to bring a whole one, meaning you're going to bring 1 ephah in the morning, 1 ephah in the afternoon. What about the loigin? Shleisha loigin mahen. Shleisha loigin shachus, shleisha loigin ben abayim. You're going to bring 3. In other words, the minchas coin. You had 2 things. You had the oil and you had the mincha, right? So we want to know what's the story with the oil. So do you bring what? Do you bring a 3? Like just so you bring a total ephah in the morning and total ephah in the afternoon. You're going to bring 3 and 3, which is double the amount ben abayim. In other words, would we implement the same din by the soilus? Would we implement it by the oil? Or the oil. Would you implement the same thing? Just like you're going to go ahead and double up on the flour, double up on the oil? Or no, where it's megala, minchas, by the mincha, by the flour, it's megala, that it's revealed. So there you double. But by the oil, we leave it normally 1.5 and 1.5. So this is another question. Kaimtsin, Levina, the Kaimits of Levina, Mahain. Now here we're going to go with the Vilna Goin, your Girsa. If you have the Goin, it's good. If you don't, follow along with Uncle Rabbi Stern. So it says what? Kaimitz b'shachritz, the kaimitz ben arbayim. Oy chatzi kaimitz b'shachritz, the chatzi kaimitz ben arbayim. Notice Levoina, are we going to double down on that too? Guys, are we going to double down? Are we going to say a full kaimitz in the afternoon and a full kaimitz in the morning? Or since usually having a full kaimitz of both, chatzi, chatzi. Or chetzi, chetzi. So that's the Gemara says. So the Gemara answers, on Rabbi Yosef, right? Klum learned the mikaimitz. Where do we learn the kaimitz from? Klum learned the mikaimitz. Elami minchas chayta. You learn from the minchas chayta. Malahalon shnei kaimitzim. That doesn't mean 2 kaimitzim, guys. It means 1 kaimitz in the morning and 1 in the night. In other words, it's one kaimitz. Just like over there, it's 1 kaimitz, 1 complete kaimitz, 1 and 1. So to over here, right? So to over here, afkan shnei kaimitzim, it will be 2 kaimitz. Rav Chizkiya says Rav Chizkiya, Klum Lamdu Shleisha Lugin Loimi Tamid Shel Ben Abayim. That we learn that Shleisha Lugin from the Tamid Shel Ben Abayim. Mala Halan Shleisha Lugin, Afkan Shleisha Lugin. So we can answer the question by oil. That also he disagrees. He says you're going to double down, just like you double down on the flour. That you're going to bring what a complete afer. Who then you're going to double down on the what? On the oil as well. You're not going to bring 1.5, 1.5. You're going to bring 3 and 3. Okay. So the final din of the Mishnah that we're going to discuss is Shalom Yehei. It's going on. Shalom Yehei moilim ba'afara. They shouldn't be moil in the afer. That the kohen who was Isaac in the paraduma should not be moil in the afer. And then the final din was on the kinim. That if they were puzzle, tonight Besdin was that the either bought from the tzibur, and Rabbi Yossi disagreed and said it was bought from the vendor who supplied it. Again, guys, that was the case with a woman. You found money, fellas, guys, just to remind you. We had 2 pushkis, one that said kinim, one that said geisli oila. Kinim was a chatas and an oila. Geisli oila was 2 oilas. If you found money in the middle, we said you go to the more machmis side, which is that. The oil side, because an oil is Muhammad and a chatas. Great. So you took care of the problem. There was a woman who put in this pushka money to buy a chatas. She cannot eat kachim until she brings that chatas. That's called mechusa kippurim. Right? We've been through this a million times. Yeah. So we said you would bring two more birds. You bring 2 more birds. You bring a chatas and an oila. Who provided that? That was the machlokes. Tanai Bezdin would be the tzibur. Rabbi Yossi said no. The vendor who supplied the other would supply that as also. Okay. Anyway, so let's finish up. It says the Gemara Shloi, hey, they would made a takana that they would not moil in the ephah of the paraduma. Rav Shimon Bar Nachman b'shem Rabbi Yonason b'dinu sheyimalu behen. Really, you should have a din of mila. Bein gazu shlo yimal ba. And there were guys that what you should not. They were guys that you should not be moil in the para adumat. Fred the Gemara v'hatani chatas. It says the para aduma is called a chatas malamet shem moil in ba. Mashmid is a din of meila. If you would go ahead and use the para aduma, fellas, you'd have to pay keren v'choimish and an asham. So how can you tell me you're not moil? After the Gemara, ba moilin in the para moil, the ain moilin ba'afara, but you're not moiling the ashes after it's burnt. When it's alive, it's a chatas, then there's a din of me'ila. Once it's burnt, then there's no din of me'ila. Once it's burnt, we can say there's no din of me'ila. Initially, the people, they wouldn't give the paraduma its proper due. Why would they do? They would take the ash and they would put it on top of the makkah. They probably thought, listen, holy ashes, right? Instead of putting on the forehead like Elenu, they would go ahead and they put it on a wound in the stomach. They felt it had medicinal curative powers, right? So they were pageya in the closet of the Parah Aduma, which is the only thing that could be matar us from Tumis Mace. So Mishtakoim Ba v'Noisnes Lagami Makaseyan v'Gozru, and they were Goiza Shiyim. They were Goiza. There was meal. See, guys, if there's a din of meal, Chacham can't take it off. You can't take it off. There's a din of meal. I mean, I tell you, the Chacham Goiza no meal. Okay, what's that? Wait, that's not. So what do you mean that the Goiza there's no din in the Eifa? Initially, there really is no din in the Eifa. There's no din. The animal's dead. There's a din of meila. You burnt it. You did the mitzvah, and now there's no din of meila. So what do you mean they took off the meila? Because first they were goyis the meila. When they saw the people misusing it and they weren't showing the proper covet, they made a gezerah. There's a din of meila. Correct. Correct. Kivan she nigderu, since they saw they made a geder, meaning people worked, right? They kept at it. They put it back on its original din. That's the Tanai Bezdin. They put it back on the original din. That there's no Mila. Yeah. I know probably over time. I said they were bigger b'chachma minyan. They were bigger b'chachma minyan. You have to say. Yeah, best could be bigger b'chachma minyan. Sure. The ala kinim. These are the old days. This is time of the bias. The alakinim, again, I jumped the gun with the foreshadow. This is with the birds with the boots, right? With the shayfis valakinim. Hayisha hazois b'mahi mechaperes. What you can get a kapara if you find in between birds there. Find the money, good. It's an oil. You're going to put it to the nadava, but this woman needs a chatas for a kapara. She's mechusik kippurim. I'm going to give you a test at the end. What is the mechusik kippurim? Okay, guys. Study. What is? I'm going to ask you. What is the mechusik kippurim? All of a sudden, everybody's screaming blank. We move.
You led us Zov. You led us Zov.
Who? I didn't call on you.
Oh, okay.
What?
He shot the cub.
Who?
28 years.
Who's mechusik kippurim?
The person
who's mechusik kippurim?
Who? The lady who was.
Give me the example of mechusik kippurim. I taught it to you. Anyone who has, listen, tameh that comes from the body. That's what you have to remember. Anyone who has tameh that emanates from the body is mechusik kippurim. A yoledes, a zav, a zava, a metzaira. These are mechusik kippurim. Okay, that's what you have to know. So now, I'm Rabbi Yitzchak. You ran out of time. Enough now. I'm Rabbi Yitzchak. Tanai Bezdin. Who? It's a Tanai Bezdin. Then I'm a sapig es akinim, the one who provides the kinim. Who mesapig es apsoiles vesavudos. If it's lost or the apostle, they're going to provide. Not that tzibur. Tanai Bezdin is they're going to provide it. Hajnech parach moshenimsu. Hajnech parach moshenimsu. Hajnech parach moshenimsu. And we're up to the last parak in Masechta Shekalim.
Morning.
So we're going to finish tomorrow night. Be'ez Hashem. Your one and only foray into Yerushalmi. Okay. Now we know that since we're discussing Zovim are unique. Guys, the liquids of a Zov have a din of an avatuma. Anything that gathers together and comes out, such as urine, such as spittle, that gathers in the mouth, is considered an avatuma. So if you find spittle in the street, it could be it's an avatuma, which is capable of being a tama odem v'kelim. Good. Says the Mishnah, Kol haroikin hansoyin b'Yerushalayim, all spittle that's found in Yerushalayim, tahirim. They're all tahar. Chutz mishel shoyka elyon, with exception of the upper shuk, the shuka elyon, divrei meya. The shuka elyon, as we're going to see, had launderers that were goyim, or they had people who would be providing food for the lions. I don't know whether there were lions in Yerushalayim, but they were slaughtering animals up there, and they were goyim, and therefore they were goyzer on goyim that they didn't have zavim. Against by Srishan. That's just by Sheni. Rabbi Yossi says, it depends. All the rest of the days of the year, that Shebe Emsa, that right, if you find spittle in the middle, right? Shebet stadim tahirin. If you find it in the middle, then it's tahar. Ubeshasa regel, and the time of the regel, shebe emsa tahirin, shebet stadim tameim. Why? Mifnei shahamu atim mistalkim litstadim. The minority always goes to the side. In other words, think about it. During the year where you don't have to be nisiv v'tum v'tayra like the regel because you can have to be kavanis, so the people who are tamei, they walk in the middle of the street. People who are nisiv v'tum v'tayra are going to walk to the sides. Therefore, you find on the side it'll be tahar, in the middle it's tamei. Conversely, b'shas the regel, it's the opposite. People are all nisiv v'tum v'tayra, so the people walking in the middle are going to be the tahirim, and the ones that are tamei who not wanting to go ahead and be matama the people, they'll be going on the side. So that's Rabbi Yossi's svara, which makes a lot of sense. What about the kalim that are found in Yerushalayim? Derek Yiridasan. Now, let's say at a mikvah. There was guys that had a way into the mikvah and a way out to the mikvah. You didn't go in the same way you came out, because if you're going in with tahar tamei dika kalim and the other guy's going in with tahar dika kalim, it might have a problem. So to avoid that problem, you had an entrance on one side and an exit on the other side, which makes a lot of sense. So now, all the kalim that you find in Yerushalayim, right? Derech Yerida, if you find them, the Beis HaTfilah, if you find them on the way down to the mikvah, then Tameim. V'derech Aliyah, if you find them on the way up, then Tahirim. Right? Why? Shaloi Kiridasan Aliyasa. The Remeya, because going down is that same as going up. That's where it's Remeya. Yes, you have Mekulan Tahirim. They're all Tahar. Everything, all the kalim in Yerushalayim are Tahar. Even the ones going down to the mikvah are Tahar. Right? Chutz min asal v'amagreifa v'amaritza v'amiyuchedes l'kfaris. These are different objects, tools used for gathering of bones in a cemetery. They used to bury in one cemetery when the bones would rot, the body would rot, decay. They would take the bones, and it's called Yom Alikat Atzamis, the day of the gathering of the bones. They would then take the bones and they would go ahead and put it in a crypt. So this is a sal would be to carry the bones. A greifa is some type of scraper, like literally a fork, and maritza we're going to see is something to crush, to pound, and break the rock for the grave. Right? And those are tummy. Okay, what about finding the following kalim? Sakin shenimtzis biyudala. We had this in Pesachim, fellas. It's Pesach. You have to shech the korban Pesach on your dalit. Good. So you're going to make sure that your kalim that you're going to use for the shechita, they're all tar. You're going to make sure that they're tar. So sakin shenimtzas biyudalid shechem b'miyad. If you find a sakin, you don't have to put it in the mikvah. You can be shecht. You can shecht immediately with the knowledge that this is what is tar, but it's tar. B'shloisha asa. However, if you find it on the 13th, it could be tahar. It could be not tahar because the person still has time until the 14th. So therefore, shona, go ahead, repeat umatfil again. If you find it on the 13th. Ken Zayin that the person wasn't a matbulit yet because he still had time. So if you find the 13th of Nisan, go ahead and put it in. Kupitz. Now a kupitz was what we call a cleaver. It could be used for shchita, but generally it was used to break bones. So kupitz bezeh, whether it's on the 13th or the 14th, shoynu umatfil. Why? Why? Because you can't break a bone on the korban Pesach. You can't break a bone. So therefore, the person is not going to be toivelit. The earliest bone he can break is the 15th. And he can't bring any animals on the 15th, only on the 16th. Oh, so Geshmak Kasha. Okay. So the Bavli, we had that Kasha. Doc's asking, and Mendy, I thought you'd ask this Kasha. There was a chagiga. There was a chagiga yud dalid that you would eat to make the korban Pesach was eaten ala soiva. So you could use that to break the bone, right? So we said the Gemara there said it's speaking where the nasi was a goisis. The nasis was goisis, and you're worried that he might die, right? So there was two sfekas. One, I may need it, I may not need it. Of course, what perish? The korban Pesach is hutche b'tzibur. But the korban chagiga yudalit is not hutche b'tzibur. So A, I might not need it. And B, even if he dies, maybe I won't need the chagiga because people will be zad anyway. I want, in other words, I'll have enough Korban Pesach to go around and I won't need it. So it was like a spec faker. So therefore, that's the Gemara answered in the Bavli answered that. Very Geshmak Kasha. The Bavli answered that in where was it in the Bavli? Pesachim Yates. That's a long time ago. That is a long time ago. Pesachim Yates. Huh? Oh, so Mendy, I don't know. See, I'm not sure that Mendy asked the kasha. Yeah, Mendy asked the kasha the other day. Mendy asked the kasha the other day that about the I forgot what it was. It was the Toisvis. It was a Toisvis in Pesachim. It was like the last half in Pesachim, like a few weeks ago, and Toisvis said he goes to Shita that it's I remember the kasha. Here's the kasha Mendy asked. Why do you say by the every night of the year sli, right? They said you eat sli because are you eating the chagiga? The chagiga doesn't have to be eat sli. So how can you save in the 4 kashas? One of the kashas in the Bismana bias. On all the nights of the year we eat sai, bevushal, sai shluka, slight sli, and tonight we're only eating it sli. So Mendy the Kohen asked me, what about the chagiga? You dalid. And what I answer you? It's like it's very good, right? It's good, right? It's a machlokes whether the Korban Chagiga had the same halachas of what of the Korban Pesach or not. So Benji's saying if it had the same halacha Korban Pesach, it's not a kasha, right? You can't break the bones either because that'd be tzli. But the Gemara answers according to the Mandi Oma. I'm asking you according to Mandi Oma that even if it's not the halacha, that would answer that. That was too sudden. Okay, very good. Yeah, yes, you're doing good. Okay, so now the kupitz b'zeh shanu amato. Chal arba asel liyos b'Shabbos. If arba asel falls out on Shabbos, then shoichet b'miyad, right? B'tesvav shoichet b'miyad. Chal arba asel liyos b'Shabbos shoichet b'miyad. B'tesvav shoichet b'miyad. Now, meaning the kupitz, guys, the kupitz. If you find the guys, the kupitz, he's going to go ahead on your dalid. He's going to have it ready for afterwards because he doesn't have time. It's because you're not doing on Yontif. So therefore, if you want to use the kupitz to shech, you'll be able to shech on your dalid, right? As opposed to any other day, right? As opposed to if on Shabbos, if your dalid falls on Shabbos, or if tesvav falls on Shabbos, you'll be able to go ahead and use the kupitz in that scenario. Nimsuk shur l'sakin. If you find the kupitz going ahead and the sakin tied to it, so there's 2 ways to learn. You can either learn the sakin needs a tefillah like the kupitz, or the kupitz does not need a tefillah like the sakin. Again, which one? I've seen both pshatim, guys. I've seen both pshatim. Rav Avin b'Shem Rabbi Shua ben Levi. Now we're explaining why was the Shara Elyon, guys? Why was the Shara Elyon? Why was the roik in the Shara Elyon? Why did it have a din of zav? Right? Why didn't it have a zav? Again, there's no din of zavim by goyim. They were goyim zavim and even zavais. The babies are zavais right away. They're very machmir by goyim. There were laundromats up there. There were laundromats. They had what? They had, well, I don't know if they had Chinese, but they had they had. Anyway, Amra Chanina. Arudois haya noichrim b'Yushalayim. Arudois are the animals they would feed. I have a girsa here of the Bavli. The Bavli says noichrim la'aroyos b'Yushalayim. They would, noichrim means to take from the nostril, take no shrita. They would take from a knife in the nostril and just that's it straight down for the aroyos. I don't know where the aroyos, but this is what they did up there. Okay. And the oil goyim, their feet would be immersed in dam. Ad arkavosayim until their knees. The Chacham didn't say that what they were tamei, right? They didn't say that. In other words, now we're getting to the shail of dam nevela. What? Okay, I'm saying, yeah, I'm saying the gladiators. I don't know what they had, but I'm saying. So the now here we had a. Do you guys remember the shaila with the mule of Rebbe Gamliel died, and they had a whole. We're going to repeat a whole Gemara. So just in case you forgot it, I'm going to remind you of it. Right? Rabbi Brank is sitting there saying, "Only one more day of Shekalim." and everyone's thinking along the same thing with you. That's the Gemara. So now, anyway, they said that, guys, you hear this? That the shaila is now that they were bloody from the nevela. So nevela is an avatuma. Now, if avatuma, you got problems. What about the blood of a nevela? So it seems over here the blood was so from these nevela, they cut open these animals and they were bloody up to their knees. So they want to know the halacha, are they tummy or not? So he said, they didn't say you're tummy. Right? Reb Simon b'shem Rabbi Shuvan Levi. Maisa, there was a Maisa b'Preda shel Beis Rebbe. There was a Maisa with the mule of Rebbe. I thought it was Rebbe Gamliel earlier. Shem Mesa, it died. V'tiru estamei mishem nevela. They were tired of the dam because of nevela. Rabbi Elazar shoyl Reb Simon. Rabbi Elazar came. He asked Reb Simon ad kama, until how much dam is there that it's tahar. He didn't. I didn't answer him. However, Shol Yeshua ben Levi. Rabbi Elazar answered Yeshua ben Levi. Amalei ad revius. He told him until revius tahar, until revius is tahar, yosem yikan tame. Uboyish Rabbi Elazar was upset. Like Chazalei Reb Simon Shmuter. When Rabbi Elazar asked Reb Simon, he didn't answer him. In other words, obviously, if Reb Yeshua ben Levi knew the answer, Reb Simon also must have known the answer. So why, when he asked Reb Yeshua ben Levi, did he get an answer that what? It's tahar up to a revius, and afterwards it's tamei. And you, Reb Simon, did not answer. He did not answer Rav. He did not answer. Who's the answer? Rabbi Elazar. He didn't answer Rabbi Elazar. No, there's a share. There's a share. There's always a share. There's a share for Tumah. There's a share for Tumah. We had Thomas Eichlin. Thomas Eichlin. We said a share. We had machloikas, whether it's a kibetza or that's a zayis. Machlekes to transmit Tumah. It's a tremendous machlekes. So we're giving a kanech now and saying when it says it's tahar, that doesn't mean not so fast that it's always tahar, right? Now, if you have Yosef Masni Adin Avda, Amalei Rav Yitzchak Bar Bisnak Ad Kama, Amalei Ad Revius Tahar Yosef Mikan Tame, Uboat Bey. And Rav Bibi was Bayat, he kind of scorned him. Amalei Rav Zrika, begin to Havisholocha at Bayat Bey, just because he has to a good kasha, you're scorning him. Now, so he answered him. So Rav Bibi answered him that what? It says in the Teichacha, and your life will be dependent upon you. Mineged, Zeshu lekech lechitin l'shani. You buy chitin from a vendor for the year. And you're always worried is going to provide for you or not. Upachtecha laila v'yoyma, Zeshu lekech mina asadki. You buy from the middleman. In other words, my head wasn't there when he asked me the shaila. I was worried about my panasa, so my head wasn't there. So my kid doing what's the din? So hey, Rabbi Shua ben Psaira, al dam nevelos shu tahar. That dam nevelos is tahar. So in other words, mashmit's tahar completely. It says no, namau tahar melahachsher. It means tahar being one of the Zion liquids that's machsher food to mekabel tuma is dam. So he said le'inyan dam. It's not considered a liquid to make a foodstuff roy to mekabel tuma. However, the tam is metama, but to go ahead and be mitama that it is tummy. It can't be machsha something, but it's tummy. Tama tanina, and there we learned dama sheretz mitama kibisarai. Now the dam of a sheretz, this week's parsha, guys, shmeina shratzim. The dam of sheretz is mitama kibisarai. Now be aware. Listen to this. The shear of the basar of one of shmeina shratzim, guys, is the size of chida adsha. Adsha is the size of a lentil bean. It's this big. It's tiny. It's tiny. Right? It's the size of a lentil. It's mamish tiny. So he says the dam of a sheretz is metama like it's basar. Metama ve'ena machsher. It's metama, but it's not machsher. So in other words, if you would touch it, you become tamei. But if this blood would go on a foodstuff, the foodstuff would not be roy to receive tamei from another source. Ve'en lanu kiyaytzabai. And we don't have anything similar. So how can you tell me that the dam of an nevela is tamei, but it can't be machsher, when you just told me over here now, only by a sheretz that phenomena exists, that it's tamei and not machsher. You wanted to say by the dam of an nevela, it's tamei, but it can't make something else roy to be mekabel tuma. You said that's a unique quality to what? to the sheretz. So if it's a unique quality to the sheretz, how could it exist by what? By the dama nevela. That's the Gemara's kasha. The Gemara answers, "Vein lonu kiyotzeba kishir tumasai, aval damai mitama kibisarai." No. What it means is the ein lanu. It doesn't mean that you don't have the phenomena of something being tamei and being machshir. You don't have the phenomena of something that is so small. The shear of the cha'atsha, the shear of nevela is a revius. The shear of is a revius. Pirish, guys, the shear of sheretz is unique because the same shear of tuma by the sheretz is the same shear of tuma by the liquid. Masha'en came it's not true by the what? By the nevela. The nevela will have the quality of being metama but not being machshir. But the shear of nevela is kazayas, and the shear of liquid is a revius, or more than a revius. So therefore, it's not a kasha. Amar Rabbi Yossi says, Rabbi Yossi, pligi b'trei amaroyim. We have machlokes two amaroyim. Chadam atame. One says that the dam of a nevela is tamei. The chadam atar, and one says the dam of a nevela is tar. Mandi amatame Rabbi Yehuda. The man that says it's tamei is like Rabbi Yehuda, right? Well, Madam atar Rabbi Yeshua ben Pesaira. He also like Rabbi Yeshua ben Pesaira. Amalei Rav Avduma, the min chusa. That's the name of a place. V'yoyis, and it makes sense. The Rabbi Yehuda Mayrana de Benesiya have. Rabbi Yehuda says it's tar, guys. The one that says it's tamei, Rabbi Yehuda, right? Rabbi Yehuda was the Moira Hira in Rabbi's house. He asked in Rabbi's house that you said that the dam is tahar, right? Up to the share of Revius. After Revius is tamei. It makes sense there that Rabbi Yehuda, who was the Moira Hira, would say it's tamei. Kol Roikin. Okay, we said all the Roikin were right. They were only in Yerushalayim. They were tahar, with the exception of the Shuka Elyon, right? So like Kain Amra Bavo B'Shem Yossi Bar Chanina, like Gazru al Roikin Sheb Yerushalayim. They weren't Geyser on the Roikin Yerushalayim, okay? And Ha'itmar Allah Rabbi. So why were they Geyser on the Shuka Elyon? So now you know the answer. Ha'itmar Allah. The Gemara repeats itself. Rabavim B'Shem Yeshua ben Levi. Katzim Shal Nachrim HaYasham. They were launderers over there. It's funny. They don't bring the lion fodder. Okay. Abishayim Asashana. Tameim Mahalchin Shibailis. All the days of the Shana, the Tameim, they would walk in the middle. But the Harim Mahalchin Minatzad. And that the Harim would walk on the sides. But the Harim Mahalchin Stam. Okay, this Gersa is over here is a little mixed up. I think the Gersa over here, let me see if I think I have to go with the Gra. Yeah, I'm going to read you the Vilna Gaon's Gersa over here. It's the opposite, guys. The Vilna Gaon's Gersa is the opposite. Okay, listen how the way the Vilna Gaon reads it. The Tmeim would go in the middle. That's good. Now, Stam, the Tmeim would go Stam and not say anything. But the Hoyrim and the Hoyrim, Oimrim Lahu, Perushu, stay away. In other words, they would walk Stam, and the Gra would say, and the Gra is Gairis, and the Hoyrim would announce Parshu, be Pirish, because they want to be Tahar. B'Shas HaRegel, the B'Shas HaRegel, Hatameim Mahalchin Shibailis, the Tameim would go in the middle, but the Hoyrim Mahalchim in Atzad, and the Tahorim would go from the side. Hatahorim Mahalchim Stam, they would walk Stam, Tameim Moimim Lahu Prushu, and they would say, stay away. Okay, so no, it's basically, that's the Girsa to go ahead, and they would walk in the same place, but they would announce.
I thought on the Regel, the majority of the Tahorim, so they should be in the middle.
This is the Girsa of the Gra. Okay, again, you have the Gersa of the Gemara. This is the Gersa of the Gra. It seems to be that they stayed on the side. I think that's his Gersa. Tmei Mahalchin Stam. He says, and at the Hayrin Aimim Lahu Purusha. At the Hayrin Aimim Lahu Purusha. So now, let's see. The Gra would say one more time. Haregel had to Horim Mahalchin Shibailis. The Tahorim would go in the middle, right? Okay, not like I said. The Tahorim would go in the middle. The Hatamei Malchim and Atzad. Good. Okay, very good. I'm sorry, guys. I read it wrong. I reversed. No. Okay, one more time. So the Regel, B'Shasa Regel, the Tahorim would go in the middle. The Tameim would go on the side. Who would talk but? Hatamei Mahalchin Stam without saying anything. But the Tahorim and the Tahorim would say, but it's the opposite. The Taharim would go stam, they're in the middle, and the Tmeim would, in other words, the one on the side is always the one saying stay away. So during the rest of the year, the Tmeim would be in the middle, and the Taharim would say stay away. B'shas regel, the Taharim would go stam, and the Tmeim would say stay away. That's type shot. Okay, thank you. Okay, we said that all the kalim were tahar, all the kalim were tahar. Right? We call it kalim and nimsayim, except we said he made a chilik between going up and down the mikvah, and Rabbi Yossi said no, only the ones that were used for burial. Like hinam Rabbi Vo b'shem Rabbi Yochanan, like gozu ala kalim shebishlayim, mekimin shenimsu derech yirida lebeis atfila naso achiach. Since they found it, the derech yirida, they made a chiach. In other words, it's asking a kasha. If they were guys to that, if all the Kalim Yishlaim were tahar, why the ones on the way to the mikveh guys are considered tamei? And they answered that it's considered tamei because you have a chocha that tamei, or why aren't they on the way down to the mikveh? Abishol Yakoiroi son Sipoirin. Abishol called the crusher the maritzin. He called it Sipoirin fingernails. Man the Sipoirin shahayidaim Sipoirin. It was like sharp like fingernails. They would go ahead and push the even to the Beis HaKfaris. Kupitz, or crush it. Kupitz tanana sakin kshurala harizek kamaisa. The sakin that's tied to the kupitz is like the kupitz. So according to this opinion, it would be tamei like the kupitz. Okay, next Mishnah. Okay, outside. Before we begin, just a reminder of a little tumah v'taira. It's a very, very basic that we all know. An avatum is capable of mitama odam v'kelim. An avatumah is capable of mitama odam v'kelim, and a vladatuma, that means a rishon, is not capable of mitama odam v'kelim. How the only way a kli can be mitama through an avatumah is using the sheni touching the rishon, being geyser on the rishon, that it has the capacity to mitama something. We just said that it's possible to have a liquid that's an avatuma if it's the mayan of a zav. So the chacham were geyser on liquid that touches a sheni, it elevated to a rishon, and then it's capable of being mitama kalim because of tumah. It's a din d'Rabbanan of tumah shel zav. Good. Now, the paroiches that hung had a din of a kli, because they would go ahead and take the kalim in the paroiches, they'd wrap it up and carry it. So it had a din of a kli. So now, the paroiches is capable of receiving tumah. What do you do with the paroiches if it's makabel tumah? So it depends which type of tumah it's makabel, and whether it's an avatuma, which is a tumah deraisa, or it's from a rishon, which is a tumah derabanan, because a rishon cannot be mitama adam v'kelim. Only an av can mitama adam v'kelim deraisa. Says the Mishnah, paroiches shenitmas bivlada tumah, a paroiches that received tumah from a vlada tumah, meaning this is a derabanan, meaning it was a tumah on a liquid that was elevated, elevated to be capable of mitama nav kli. Matbil neisa bifnim, you'd put it in the mikveh inside the Beis Hamikdash, umachnis neisa miyad, and you go ahead and take it out immediately. In other words, you could use it right away. Ushenit mas bi'avatuma, but if it contracted tumah from an avatuma, then matbil neisa bachutz, you do it outside the Beis Hamikdash. Again, if it's tumah deraisa, guys, there's a mitzvah of shiluach min hamachne. We want to get it outside the shechina, right? So you have something that's makabel tumah from an avatuma. It's in machne shechina in the Beis Hamikdash. You want to get it out, so you didn't toivel it inside. You toiveled it outside, and the shoytchin I saw the chayil, and you would spread it out in the chayil, which was an area outside leading up to harabayis, the chayil to Sleirig, leading into the Beis Hamikdash. B'fnei she'tzricha herav shemesh, because you needed herav shemesh. I'm not sorry, chayil, which comes first. I don't remember. Again, yeah, mitzvah to take it out. Kain's kaddish also. It's a mitzvah to take him out of his tummy. His tummy, yeah. There's shluch min hamachne. You have to take it out. So now you would spread it, you wouldn't. In other words, you wouldn't bring it back in miyad. Why? Because it's a full yom. It's like a man. Im hoisa chadasha, and if it was brand new, shoyfchenesa al gaga it's staba, they would spread it on the roof of the of the balconies that were there. To show off. Look at the, you don't get to see inside. This is the ulam, the beautiful tapestry. They'd show it off. The proiches, the shear of it was a tefach wide. Al amid beis nimim nereges. It was woven with 72 different threads. Al kolnim b'venima, each one of the threads, chaftal et chutin, had 24 strands. Orcha, its length was memama, the rachba, and its width was chaf. It was 40 amis by chaf. That's a very, very large amount. It's in between. It could be, if it's 2 amis, it's 40. It's 80 by 40. You really. We pay base ribo hoisinasis. It was made from 82 ribui, 10,000 times 82, 820,000 ribui. Ribui. I saw 2 pshatim. I saw different. They had different petals, or it means the girls. They had girls who would go ahead and make this. They were girls who were not, but they didn't reach the age of being needless. So they wouldn't be Kabbalah Tumah when they made it. And the Lashon of Rebus is Rebus. What?
Under 3 years old.
Under usually don't have 2 years old. You're thinking about Goyis Tumah. No, most women don't have the best until much later. Well, Beis Oisim B'chol Shana, they made 2 every year. V'gimel Meis Kahanim Apilon. It's like it took 300 Kahanim to go ahead and do this. Okay, and we'll stop over here. Okay, tomorrow night we'll finish up our